Here on the back of this truck, I've got some beauties. Shadow Systems DR920L. Walther PDP Match Series pistol. Polymer frame version. Hollow Sun 509T on there. Fantastic pistol. You guys know we love our Walther stuff. What do we have below here? Maybe a newfound favorite for me. This is the Smith & Wesson 2.0 Competitor. This thing right here, just actually recently filmed up a review on the Vortex Defender XL. Awesome pistol, shoots great. All of these are really great pistols that are very popular amongst a lot of shooters across the country. But what if I told you that there's a pistol that may shoot better than these, but it's gonna cost you more than all three of these combined? And what is that pistol? Let's see what we have in here. The Laugo Arms Alien. We had a short on this thing, and this thing is a bit of an alien. It is quite a bit different than these other pistols you see here. And most importantly with this pistol, the big thing is that bore axis. So where, let's take like the Walther, how it sits with the bore itself, the barrel is actually where the guide rod would be with the Alien. And that is very, very different than what you're gonna get with your other pistols on the market in general, whether it's a 2011, 1911, and of course, your striker fire guns. Even lower than what you're gonna get from CZ with the Shadow series of pistols. Again, like I said, this thing is very expensive. For the complete package, which we'll go run through everything that comes in the box for these pistols, you're looking at close to $5,000 for these. It is gonna be unobtainable for a lot of folks, but for the right person in the right hands, this could be one of the finest shooting guns in its category. So you'll see here the red dot on this particular slide that we have, where say that top rail is actually mounted there. So when the slide itself, if we're gonna call it that, reciprocates, you'll see that dot doesn't actually move. It just stays right there. We do have another top end that we could put on here to where it's just iron sights, and then therefore you're not essentially going into a different category where you're going against really high-end race guns if you're shooting competition stuff. With that low bore axis, there's a very, very nice trigger on here that breaks very crisp and clean. With these pistols, they're not meant to be dry fired a bunch. There is actually a snap cap that's included with the box. And it is very, very crisp and a very short reset. So we'll shoot that. And on the side here, you have a magazine release that comes out and it's serrated. It's nice to push, it's easy to push. And then you have magazines. There are different types of magazines. You have standard competition style, and then you have these little bit more angled ones for the Alien. The grip itself feels good in my hands. It has good aggressive grip textures and like G10 type rail scales here on the side, and it feels good. I don't think there's any issues with, let's say, serrations up here on like your slide area. Nothing down here. Trigger stuff feels good. A slide release, slide stop lever there, and all of that is good. Now this thing is very different when it comes to taking apart the pistol. There is no actual takedown lever that you would normally find. But there is a easy way to do it once you figure it out. The first time you're gonna go do it, it is gonna be so aggravating, you're practically going to chuck the thing across the room. But don't do that, it's very expensive. And these pistols are hand fitted and built. So it's tight. So what you have to do is actually pop that pin out, put some pressure on the back, and then it just comes right off. And then the rest of the pistol comes apart very easily. It's just as easy as something like you would do with a Glock design and pulling the lever. It's just once you figure it out, it could be a little bit of work getting to that point. You do notice that there is a Picatinny rail across the bottom and then a magazine well. But what's neat about these pistols is that with the case, you get a ton of goodies inside here. So we'll go through some of the stuff that's inside the case, then we'll get over here on the range, I'll shoot the thing a bunch, show you guys how it performs, and a little bit of comparison, how it performs to the other striker fire guns here on the table or on my truck bed. But it is a heavier gun with a lower bore axis, and that's really what they're going for. This thing is built for competition use, or more importantly, somebody who just wants a neat looking collector's piece. Within the Laugo Arms Alien case, you get a bunch of little goodies. You get 3 magazines with these. They are nice magazines. They're all metal or steel mags with base pads on here to give you extensions. And then in addition to that, you get a very nice holster with here that comes actually with a drop bracket that is easily adjustable, and let's say you can kind of like set it to however you may want with a belt slide or size that's perfect for a competition belt. Now like on this HRT belt, it won't actually fit, but for most of your competition belts with your inner belt and the outer belt, you will have no issues fitting this on there. And it's very well machined and very well done and feels very high end. That's one thing that I'll probably make a note of with this pistol. Although it's expensive, when you hold this pistol, it's truly kind of a sight to see and feel, because it doesn't feel like a cheap pistol. It definitely feels like it's an expensive gun. And of course it is. It's just good to know that I'm picking up a gun that not only feels expensive, it also is, unlike, you know, having an expensive gun that just feels cheap. So that stuff's all good there. Magazine wise though, like I said, you have your competition type magazine and then the standard Alien mags. Now you'll notice like overall angle as it goes in are no different, but those base pads on your competition mags, they are a little different. I'm happy to say that I'm glad Laugo Arms, when they sent this pistol out to us to try and make this review for you guys, they sent us the two different styles of magazines. Because if you're shooting a competition gun, a lot of times you're gonna want the standard competition style magazines. A few of the other knickknacks we got here inside this awesome case, which is like a watertight, airtight Pelican type case, is that you do have a carbon scraper for the inside of the piston chamber, because this gun itself is gas operated, unlike what you get from a locking Browning design. So that part's very different. They do give you, like I said, a carbon scraper for that. And then you have a few little Allen keys and things like that that are included here as well. A snap cap, because like I said, this pistol, you don't want to just dry fire it all willy-nilly like your striker fire guns. You use a little snap cap, so that's no issue there whatsoever. Some of the earlier model XDMs from Springfield and some pistols really are not good to be dry fired a lot. You do get some cleaning solution here, so this is some standard CLP. And then we also have some carbon remover, which is nice as well. Now, when we were talking about the top end, this is it. This is your top end here. Now, this one here is just plain Jane iron sights, which is fine, because with these plain iron sights, you can then take this top end, put it on the gun, and run it in a division that would compete with these ones versus that slide or that, let's say, sight tracker type mount, to where you'd have to go in full open division with this gun and maybe be competing against guns that may outclass it. The best shooter in the world will always beat high-end gear. But if you're, let's say, a mediocre shooter and you get in that division and you run this thing against somebody running those really high-end race guns, they'll probably beat the brakes off you. So it's good to know that you can get the complete package and get something like this with the gun. Although there's tons of cool stuff in here, and this pistol's expensive, none of it really means anything if this thing doesn't shoot well. So let's stop talking about it. Let's get over here on our range. We'll shoot this thing a bunch. I'll give you guys some thoughts of how I feel about it and what it's like to shoot this pistol in comparison to other pistols I've shot. And then ultimately we'll be able to tell you whether this thing's worth your hard-earned dollar, if you got the money to spend, or if you should save up for it. But more importantly, we're going to make gun reviews honest again. And that's our pledge to you, to keep it that way for us, and especially in 2024. Got some magazines loaded up now for our Alien. Let's shoot this thing, get a little feel for it out of this first mag, and then we'll go into running some drills and things like that. What a weird impulse. It's almost like it's like the impulse just comes straight back at you versus that kind of like that flip that you normally get. That's insane how it feels. What I can tell you though is that it's almost like it's not punching, because that's kind of like an aggressive word. Almost like it's pushing back into your hand versus trying to break your grip. It runs though. Man, that trigger is insane. That's pretty sweet. That is entirely different than anything I'm used to. Why don't we have you guys come over here right now and take a look at this trigger and how it actually performs. All right, so with the trigger, you'll see here it's got like a blade in there, a lot like you see with your standard like trigger blade safeties, and then it will come up on it. So right there, any take up, no take up, we're at a wall with no creep. So that's it. I mean, that's probably like a 3.5 pound trigger with a just lightning fast reset. Really, really phenomenal trigger. That is, I mean, let's just say, let's call it a striker fire for just a second. Striker fire gun, best trigger I've ever felt. Most your 2011 triggers, let's say anything Staccato makes, or the OA triggers from the 2311. It's better than those. So that gives you probably a little bit of a semblance as to how that trigger actually feels. And it's just a super short reset and feels really nice. We'll make a quick note about the target itself is to, you obviously observed me shooting. I won't sit here and tell you I'm 100 yards away, 10 yards. 10 yards, came in here, shot the pistol, it's already zeroed. It's pretty impressive how flat the gun shoots for how it's built. And obviously there's no doubt about it, how that bore axis actually sits in here shows that it makes a difference with bore axis. A lot of folks are like, oh, bore axis doesn't matter. It does matter and it does help. For the right grip, you can defeat a lot of different, let's say, recoil impulses, but with this thing, it's just a straight back recoil versus that kind of flipping recoil you get on most pistols. And to shoot this pistol like this, right out of the box, essentially, we had it zeroed, is pretty sweet to see. It's an impressive pistol. I've never shot anything that feels like this. Your high-end race guns and things like that with your sight track or whatever it might be, those shoot really well, but how this thing performs without all of those doodads is pretty sweet. So let's run this thing a little bit more. We'll do some reloads and things like that and keep evaluating. What I'm gonna do now on these two targets, I have a right target, left target. I'm gonna do 3 on one and 3 on another with a reload in between. And we'll just see how overall it performs and how it feels for myself. Before this, shot the Smith & Wesson Competitor a lot a few days ago for a review we did on the new Defender XL. So, not completely cold, but let's run this thing and see how it feels for me. We're gonna do it from the high. Ready? What's kind of cool about this pistol is that what I noticed transitioning to the next target, although it didn't quite feel right for myself, my grip wasn't perfect when I went to it, and I still managed to land 3 shots that were very tight over there. And like I said, my grip, I knew it right away as soon as I pulled that first trigger, was that my grip wasn't perfect. So let's run through it some more. This thing is just, it's easy to shoot. It's very easy to shoot, and I think that's something important to note. We'll run it again. What's interesting about this pistol that I probably is hard to describe, not really, but it's different, is that when I drop the slide on this pistol and it sends around home, you don't feel it catching that round. So it's almost as if a feeling on a striker fire gun that I'm used to, because they're light and it's a little different of an operation cycle, is that I can usually tell on a striker fire gun if it doesn't pick up that next round when I drop that slide closed. This thing is so smooth, I actually can't tell it's picking up a round, which is pretty neat, but also it's a little bit different from what I'm used to. Overall, the pistol shoots really well. It's a very, very easy pistol to shoot. And what I'm noticing is that it's very forgiving. A few more rounds here before you have to load up. Looks like I got 4. So I have 15 rounds loaded up now. We're going to shoot the head box and that T-zone up there, the T-zone head box. And what we're going to do is I'm going to attempt to do it in 6 seconds. I'm going to shoot 16 rounds essentially. So that's a pretty good split time overall. It's going to force me to be quick, but ultimately what I wanted to show is how you can shoot this pistol accurately and quickly. So 5:46, 16 shots. Yeah, with split times 0.31 there. 3, 5, 4, 6, 4, 4. So roughly between the 3 to 4 range. And I mean, so really it's not all that fast, but if you notice there on that target, how easily that was for me to do it. And I'm not even, I mean, if anything, there was probably more shooter error introduced into that than the gun actually moving and keeping me from shooting that. So really easy to do. And you know what? Let's just do it again. So I actually picked up the pace at 16 and 4 seconds. Split times are actually faster. We still maintained overall pretty good hits. A couple that came out. But the pistol is just, see how easy that is for me to do with this pistol. That's not hard. And you know what? Let's push the gas a little bit more. So 377, the pistol is getting pretty darn hot. With this pistol being a gas operated design as low as that bore axis, if you shoot this thing a lot, and I mean like we just blew through 4 fully loaded magazines, it gets real hot underneath the trigger here because ultimately that's where your breech is at and the chamber itself. So it gets hot there. Now, when you're shooting competition, or if you're going, let's say, like 30 rounds in a string of fire, does not get hot like that. Right now, this thing is smoking hot and actually starts to feel like it's gonna burn my finger off. But if you're shooting standard like competition style stuff, that's not gonna happen. But you can see with this pistol is how well it shoots and how it's just, man, this thing is very, very easy to shoot quickly. And I really like how it shoots. But I'm gonna let it cool down a little bit, load up a few more mags. After we do that, we're just gonna shoot a few rounds through our Smith & Wesson M&P Competitor 2.0, our Walther PDP competition model, and then in addition to that, that Shadow Systems DR920L. We're just gonna do 15 rounds in each one of those guns, and we'll just throw a lineup like we do with our recoil stuff so you can see the difference between those guns and this thing. We're gonna start off by showing you guys each one of the pistols we brought with us today that are competition-esque pistols, being the PDP Match Series, the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 Competitor, and our DR920L Shadow Systems pistol. So we got 15 rounds loaded up in each of them. We'll throw them up there and you'll be able to see how they look recoil-wise in comparison to that Laugo Arms Alien. Next up is the Walther PDP Match. This is a 5-inch gun. Last pistol up in comparison to the Laugo Arms Alien Smith & Wesson Competitor. And then we'll shoot that Alien again after all of these. Last pistol up for comparison is the Alien. The Alien's definitely the flattest shooting of the bunch. What I noticed is that the dot pretty much never leaves the window with the Alien. It just tracks nice and flat, just constant. It's like the dot just goes back and forth versus the alternative. Before we finish up today though, what I want to do for you is throw the other top end on here, because with that other top end, that iron-sighted model, it's actually going to make this thing have a slightly lighter trigger pull, and I want to shoot that a little bit, and we'll close it out. I'll give you guys final thoughts and ultimately what we really think of this Laugo Arms Alien. What I want to show you guys is what the interior of the Alien actually is. And you'll see here you have like your recoil spring here on the side, like a piston here that ultimately goes in here to the chamber. And you see that, how it just rides in there like that. Pretty neat design. It's entirely different from anything else on the market. And then the top end, this is all it is, your whole assemblage. So really, this pistol, although it looks really intricate, it's not. There, you know, it's different, no doubt about it, but there's not tons of different parts that you would normally have on a lot of other guns. It's just a really neat operating system that is far different. And you know, like the barrel itself does not reciprocate whatsoever. It's just ultimately that slide, that piston, and then your ejector and everything like that to pull the stuff out. So let's throw that top end on here. A couple things I want to make note of so I don't forget today. A lot of the parts on here, I could tell they're easily serviceable. And included, you know, the pistol itself, how it slides on here is very, very smooth. There's no binding or anything like that. But then you have like your extractor. It looks like you can actually take that part out and change it if you needed to, pretty simply. And then the rear, the iron sight on here on the rear is elevation adjustable and windage adjustable. So that's nice to see. Everything on here is metal. It is all very, very well done, and included pick rail on the front. So let's shoot this thing here with that iron sight top rail and see how it does. The trigger's so light. Cheat code engaged. Oh, I wish I had a trigger scale with me, because that trigger is so light. What a beaut. What I'm noticing is, having shot a lot of comped guns, this thing performs like a comped gun by using that ultra low bore axis. And just to that, there's just no muzzle flip like you really get. And even especially shooting the iron sights, you could really tell the difference when you're doing that. We've shot enough paper today though. Let's shoot some steel. The Laugo Arms Alien, one of the finest shooting guns I've had the opportunity to shoot here with the Hunt Fish Shoot channel. I'm extremely happy that Laugo Arms reached out to us and asked us if we wanted to review this. We took them up on the offer, even though this is something that, generally speaking, for the rest of our content is a little bit different than what we normally do. But this thing deserves it. This pistol, if you have the budget, is 100% worth your hard-earned dollar. I've shot high-end race guns. I've shot, a little bit of everything when it comes to pistols. This thing is truly different from everything else that's out there. If you don't just win another 2011, the Alien could be for you. This thing is entirely different from everything else, and it just shoots really darn well. They really did a great job with these things, and they've been out for a little while now, and I think that they truly deserve more attention than what they get, because these things are like a masterpiece in somebody's hands, how they look, and more importantly, in a more skilled shooter's hands, this thing would be even better than how I presented it today. But until next time, guys, let us know what you think about the Laugo Arms Alien. Drop us a like, drop us a comment, and let's get it on.